We are set for final trial today. The court will recognize that the department is present, represented by Ms. Marilyn Bradley and joined by Ms. Sierra Ibarra and Ms. Elizabeth Hansen with Belong. In addition, we have Ms. Alana Pearsall here. She's not fully connected yet, but she is trying to join. She is the attorney for the respondent, Mother Noelia Garcia. I don't believe I see Ms. Garcia on the call. Ms. Sonia Sims is here. Ms. Sims is the attorney for Juan Jose Casares III. Mr. Casares is present. In addition, we also have with us, I believe, Ms. Anna Swallow. Are you here on behalf of Ms. Hellrung today?
Yes, Judge, and I'm covering for her as she has a prior commitment. I have a 10 o'clock I have to be on.
Okay, thank you for that announcement. In addition, we have Mr. AJ Reyna with CASA of South Texas, along with Ms. Connie Lopez. So can I get announcements from the parties? I believe it may have been conveyed to Virginia, my coordinator, that the parties might need additional time for the case for mediation, or no, not at all. All right, so Ms. Bradley, what is your announcement?
Your Honor, we had initially requested to try this case on November 6th, but we did do the mediation with Christina Falkowitz, and it went very well. And we do have a mediated settlement agreement that we are ready and prepared to present to the court and in settlement of all claims.
All right, well then, if that is the case, can I just get a confirmation that everyone else is ready to proceed at this time as well?
Yes, Judge.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, very good. Mr. Adolfo here.
Oh, is that Adolfo Fuentes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're doing another case at this time, and we are set on yours. Let's see here. I'm looking at my calendar. We're scheduled to hear your case at 10. And it may be a little bit later than that, but we're not going to get started with yours. And it's a separate Zoom link. All right.
Okay, so I'll come back at what time?
At 10. Try to sign in at 10.
All right.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Will that be sent to the same email?
What I don't know. Mr. Fuentes, who's your attorney?
I do not know.
Okay.
Your Honor, I can forward that.
That woman, Cheryl.
Okay.
I'll forward it.
Please, if you don't mind, so we can get started with this hearing, I'd appreciate it.
All right.
Okay. At this time, Ms. Bradley, then, do you want to proceed by introducing the agreement into the record? I don't have a copy of it, so are you able to at least read it into the record so that I'm aware of its terms and conditions?
Yes, Your Honor, and I did send that to Virginia as back on the day that we mediated the settlement. I can send it to her right now to give to you, or to you if you prefer.
Yeah, go ahead, and you can send it to Virginia. That's fine.
All right. I can
Go ahead
and
and read it into the record. That'd be great.
All right. The mediated settlement agreement in this case reads as follows. The parties agree to the following terms. Vanessa Barraza and Juan Casares will be appointed joint managing conservators, with Juan Casares having the exclusive right to designate the residence of the children. Noelia Garcia, the mother, will be possessory conservator. Unless the parties agree otherwise, Ms. Garcia's visitation will be as follows. A, the parties will all enroll with app close for all communications concerning the children. B, mother must confirm all visitation 24 hours in advance on app closed or visit is canceled. C, mother's visits will be for 4 hours each Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., supervised for 4 visits. D, then 6 hours each Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., supervised for 4 visits. E, then 8 hours unsupervised each Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. for 4 visits. F, then 8 hours unsupervised from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday on the 1st, 3rd, and 5th weekends. On standard possession order holidays, mother will have the children from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the day of the holiday in even years and on the day following the holiday in odd years. On Halloween in even years, mother will have the children from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. G, when mother's criminal cases have final orders and mother is in full compliance with all terms of any parole or probation and has the same housing for 1 year, then standard possession order, including Halloween and the holidays. H, if mother appears to be intoxicated or under the influence, the visit can be stopped or canceled. Mother and father agree to abstain from alcohol for 24 hours prior to their visits and during their visits with the children. I, supervision will be by Vanessa Barraza and or other adult designated by her. Number 3, Ms. Garza will pay child support to Juan Cáceres in the amount of $402.60 per month on the first day of each month beginning November 1st, 2023. Number 4, the visitation outlined in this agreement will begin on Saturday, October 7th, 2023. Number 5, this agreement will supersede the prior agreement to move the trial date, and trial will be held on October 2nd, 2023 at 9:30 a.m. Number 6, the department will be dismissed as managing conservator for the children, and all other court-appointed attorneys will be discharged. The parties understand that this agreement is not subject to revocation. Texas Family Code Section 153.0071D. All parties acknowledge that the court may enter judgment based on this agreement and that no party may withdraw their consent to the terms of this agreement. Texas Family Code 153.0071D. Agreements are effective as of the date of signing this agreement unless specifically stated otherwise. The parties agree to the use of their electronic signatures to be the same as handwritten signatures, and each the parties signing are myself, Cecilia Hellerung, Noelia Garcia, Alana Pearsall, Juan Cáceres III, Sonia Sims, Elizabeth Hanson, Sierra Ibarra, Connie Lopez, AJ Reyna, Vanessa Barraza, and Christina Falkowitz, the mediator. That is the complete agreement.
All right. And what day was that agreement reached, Ms. Bradley?
Sorry, Judge.
While you're doing that, let me swear in Ms. Ibarra. I'm assuming we'll have some brief testimony in support of the best interest of the children and this agreement. Ms. Ibarra, if you'll raise your right hand, do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Your Honor, this mediation was held over 2 days. It was first on September 6th, and then we finalized it and signed it on September 22nd.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Ibarra, I didn't hear your response. Was that a yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Or okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Ms. Pearsall. Thank you, Ms. Bradley. Ms. Ibarra has been sworn. If you wish to present some brief testimony,
Yes,
you may.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. And how are the children doing at this time?
They're doing good.
Okay, where are they? With whom are the children?
So the children are placed with Mr. Cáceres. The placement started on June 1st, 2023. They're currently living with Miss Vanessa Barraza. Mr. Cáceres is currently looking for an apartment in San Antonio, and until he finds one, he will be residing with Miss Barraza.
And Miss Barraza has provided care for the children pretty much the entire time that the case has been open. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And are the children bonded with her?
Yes, they are.
And how have they been doing while they were placed in her care?
They've been great, up to date on medical and dental.
Okay, so Miss Vanessa Barraza is the grandmother, right?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And she is being named as a joint managing conservator with Mr. Cáceres, correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And how is this in the best interest of the children, if it is?
It's in the best interest of the children should Mr. Cáceres or Miss Garcia run into any problems with their criminal cases. Miss Barraza will have custody of the children, and it will keep them from coming back into the foster care system.
And has Miss Barraza been a very stabilizing influence and force in this case?
Yes, ma'am, she has.
And she does understand all her rights and responsibilities as a non-parent joint managing conservator?
Yes, ma'am, she does.
All right. So are there any concerns with the children?
No, there are no concerns with the children.
As to Noelia Garcia, who is named as possessory conservator under the agreement, can you tell us if this is in the best interest of the children and why?
Yes, it is in the best interest of the children with this agreement. Miss Garcia, she did, complete her services, but it was more of checking off a box than learning and utilizing those skills that she learned in her services and applying them to, visits, which she did cancel quite a bit. And there is still a criminal case pending. So we are not sure how she would take care of the children for overnights. So that's why we did not include overnights in the agreement.
Well, there is a provision, a step-up provision to her having eventual standard possession order access to the children, right?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And is it in the children's interest to keep contact with their mother and to eventually have the full standard possession order visitation based on your experience in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. The children, are they bonded and affectionate towards their mother?
Yes, they are.
And how about with their father?
Yes, they are bonded and they love being with their father as well.
And is this a stable arrangement as agreed by the parties?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Sorry. And does it ensure that the children will be cared for and have a safe and stable residence in any foreseen contingency?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
Okay. Is there anything more that I have not asked you that you feel is important for the court to know?
No, ma'am.
Okay, pass the witness.
All right. Ms. Pearsall, do you have questions for Ms. Ibarra?
No questions, Judge.
Ms. Sims, any questions from you?
No questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Swallow, any questions?
No questions, Judge. Thank you.
All right. Any additional witnesses, Ms. Bradley?
No, Your Honor, I do not think so.
Any other witnesses from any other party?
No, Your Honor.
All right. If not, let me just ask Ms. Swallow. Ms. Hellrung was a party to the agreement. Her signature's on this mediated settlement agreement. Do you have anything to add on her behalf in regards to the requested relief today?
Judge, she only relayed to me that she believed that the agreement was in the best interest of the children and that the department should be dismissed today based on the MSA.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Swallow. And Mr. Reyna, same question to you. You are also part of the process of reaching this agreement and signed off on it as well, as I understand. So what else would you like me to know other than your support of what's been included in the agreement?
Morning, Judge. I have nothing else to add. Everything's already been said.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Reyna. Does anyone else need to address the court at this time? All right. Well, if not, based on the testimony that's been presented today in conjunction with my review of the mediated settlement agreement entered into by the parties, the court is going to adopt and approve that mediated settlement agreement, and will find by a preponderance of the evidence that it is in the best interest of the 4 children subject of the suit, or Ms. Vanessa Barraza and Mr. Juan Casares to be appointed joint managing conservators of the children at this time, with Mr. Juan Casares having the exclusive right to designate the residence of the children. The court will appoint Ms. Noelia Garcia as a possessory conservator with the rights and duties that accompany that appointment under the Texas Family Code, and will approve visitation and access for Ms. Garcia as stipulated in the very specific provisions of the mediated settlement agreement regarding that stair-step process to increase visitation and the specific conditions of those visits. The court finds that that visitation schedule is in the best interest of the children as well. The court will order Ms. Garcia to pay child support to Mr. Juan Casares in the amount of $402.60 per month on the first day of each month, starting November 1st of 2023 and continuing until each child reaches the age of majority. The court will dismiss the department as the temporary managing conservator of these children and will dismiss all other court-ordered relationships as well. Again, collectively, the court finds these orders to be in the best interest of the children in this case. I thank you all for doing the work at mediation to develop this collaborative agreement and this path forward without continued involvement by the department. I know it took a lot of work on 2 separate days to get it knocked out, and I appreciate all that you did to make that possible. Mr. Casares, I thank you for doing the work that you needed to do in this case, and I appreciate your mother. I don't believe I see her on the call, but I am glad to know that you're working together to ensure that stability and security for the children going forward and an ongoing relationship with their mother in a safe and protective way. So thank you all so much. There will be no future hearings in this matter, and I wish you the best, Mr. Casares, for you and your family, and for everyone else in this case for the work that you've done. Thank you once more. Is there anything else that we need to address at this time? If not, thank you all. If there's nothing further, all parties are excused. All right. Mr.
Thank you.
Cabrera appears to be stuck in another hearing right now. We're going to try to get him on board. In addition, we have with us Miss Maria Garza. Miss Garza is the attorney and guardian ad litem for the children in this case. Miss Connie Lopez is here with CASA of South Texas. So, all right. Miss Bradley, are you ready to proceed? And if so, will you be calling Miss Diaz?
Yes, Your Honor, to both. Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Miss Diaz. I thought I saw Miss Reinfeldt here with us, but I do not now. Have you been in communication with her?
Yes.
Okay, and she has had some very unfortunate developments, correct?
Yes.
Can you share that with the court?
Mr. Reinfeldt unexpectedly passed away. So now the main caretaker right now for the children is Melinda Reinfeldt.
Okay, so how are things going? Let me back up just a minute. When you said Mr. Reinfeldt unexpectedly passed away, has that been like about a month or so ago?
Yes. Yes,
Oh,
it's been about a month.
So how are things going how are the children doing is really the question.
They're slowly adjusting. Ms. Reinfeldt has had a very good family support. We have been able to obtain daycare services for the children to kind of help her out because Mr. Reinfeldt was the one that was staying with the children throughout the day. But at this time, the children have, actually, they just started on today. They started attending the daycare.
All right. And the plan, was it not, was for the Reinfeldts to become licensed and to transfer PMC to the Reinfeldts with PCA benefits.
Correct.
Is that plan still viable? Are we still able to go forward with all the new developments?
Yes,
All right. And is Ms. Reinfeld still committed to doing that?
absolutely. Yes.
Great. Okay. Now, are the children in a safe, stable, and appropriate environment?
Yes.
And you said, I think that they're doing well since the passing of Mr. Reinfeld. Sorry,
Go ahead.
Justin, right?
Yes.
Will you tell us, please, just generally, are they meeting their milestones? Are there any medical issues? Are they anything the court needs to know?
No, there have been no medical issues. The children are doing very, very well. There have been no setbacks or anything like that on their milestones.
Okay.
Good.
All right. And are the parents coming to visits?
Both parents are in a rehabilitation at this time. They have been there already for a couple of months already. Both of them are doing actually very good.
And did they voluntarily admit themselves?
Yes.
So at this time, I'm a little unclear because I thought I saw Mr. Fuentes try to join us.
He's here. He got on board. The screen says Richard McFarland.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So sorry, Mr. Fuentes. Thank you for being here. And you say the visits are going very, very well?
Well, they have not been able to see the children since they are in a rehabilitation. Leticia was able to go and visit the children when Mr. Reinfeld did pass away. However, after the funeral and everything, she went back to the rehabilitation, and she has been there since then.
Okay. And I see a label that says Tisha's iPhone, but I think that's Miss Ibarra, correct? So we have both parents with us today. Yes?
Yes, I believe.
All right. So. And that is something that they are allowed to do from the rehab facility?
Yes.
And you said they're doing well. Does that mean that they are looking at any kind of completion sometime here in the future?
Well, Mr. Fuentes, I believe, is going to be finishing mid-December, his rehabilitation. Leticia is currently still there. I'm not too sure on the end date on her, but both of them have been getting regular testing while they have been there at the rehabilitation, and both have been testing negative.
And I take it this is an inpatient facility?
It's actually I believe it's an outpatient for both of them.
Do you know the name of it?
For Mr. Fuentes, it is the Salvation Army Adult Rehabilitation Center. And
where is that?
It is in San Antonio.
Okay.
And Ms. Leticia is at Journey Recovery Center, and that is in San Angelo.
Okay. And you said they were both doing very well. That means both mother and father.
Correct.
So you're saying that they are. Okay. I didn't catch when Miss Ibarra was due to be released.
I'm not too sure on the end date for her.
Oh,
She has been there a little bit longer, but even though she finished one stage, she decided to continue moving on to the next stage so that she could get the whole full supports that she can have there while at the rehabilitation.
all right. So is there anything that they are not doing that the department through Belong feels is important to finalize permanency in this case, or are they doing everything in their power to become responsible parents as we agreed when we settled the case, except for transfer of permanent managing conservatorship?
At this time, both of them have been compliant with the testing. They have been getting tested while they have been there in the rehabilitation. Both have the regulations of if they test negative, they I know for Leticia, I think with them, no, I believe it's for both. I'm sorry, I take that back. I believe for both, if they test negative, they will not be allowed to continue being there at the rehabilitation. But at this time, both have been compliant with the testing and with the classes that are required of them.
What kind of classes are we talking about?
Anger management, the 12-step program for alcohol, seeking shelter, nurturing parenting classes, anger management, seeking safety treatment curriculum. So they have been taking multiple classes while in there.
All right. And I think the question I asked you was, is there anything else that they need to do other than what they're doing right now in order for us to go ahead and help all this come together and be out of the case?
Not at this time. At this time, they just have to continue being compliant with their rehabilitation and continue the program.
All right. And are you asking that the children remain in the home of Ms. Reinfeldt at this time as being a safe, stable, and appropriate placement?
Correct.
And you're also asking at this time that the department remain as the permanent managing conservator until such time as the licensing can be completed, when we will move to, or we will petition the court for transfer of conservatorship?
Correct.
All right, thank you. Anything else that is important I didn't ask?
No, ma'am.
Pass the witness.
All right. Let me recognize Mr. Marco Cabrera has joined us as the attorney for Ms. Ibarra. Mr. Cabrera, do you have any questions for Ms. Diaz?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Dye, do you have any questions for Ms. Diaz?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Garza, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Well, Ms. Bradley, any additional witnesses you wish to call?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to hear from Mr. Aranda. So can you update us on where we are with the permanency plan, please?
As of last Wednesday, I did receive an update from Juliana Garcia. She's the foster home developer that's working with Ms. Reinfeldt. They were pending a completed application, I guess just an updated application from Ms. Reinfeldt. They needed a copy of her birth certificate. She had completed her CPR and first aid course, but somehow the wording on the certificate that they gave her does not suffice with the requirements for licensing. So she is going to have to retake that class. Belong was going to try to send someone to her home to get that training completed. She was, as of last Wednesday, she was lacking 3 trainings, which I'm sure by now she's completed those. And the final thing that she needed was her fire extinguisher tagged, and I got that done for her last Thursday. So she's almost there.
All right, well, that's great news. And does that pretty much cover everything that we're just waiting on?
Yes.
Are there any concerns at this time, Mr. Aranda, or is everything going pretty much?
The only concern that I had was after Mr. Reinfeldt's death, she had to return to work because she needed that income. She didn't have daycare. We couldn't get daycare approved because there is no daycare in Cotulla. But daycare has since been found, and the kids have started daycare as of today. So that concern has been taken care of. But other than that, Ms. Reinfeldt is willing and wanting to proceed with getting licensed to care for these kids long term.
Do you have any contact with the parents, Mr. Fuentes and Miss Ibarra?
I do not have any contact with parents.
You were on this case earlier, were you not?
No, ma'am, not on this case.
Sorry, I apologize. That's all the questions I have for Mr. Aranda. Pass the witness.
All right. Does anyone else have questions?
No, Your Honor.
If not, any other witnesses, Ms. Bradley?
No, Your Honor.
Any other witnesses from any other party?
Your Honor, I'd like to briefly call Ms. Ibarra.
Okay, but you can't. Okay.
Your Honor, it's okay. I was going to ask about an expected release date, but it seems like everything's going okay. I don't need to.
All right. It looks like maybe Mr. Fuentes might know that. Mr. Fuentes?
No, I have a couple questions I would like to ask.
Directed to who?
To everyone that's listening. Because as we've been going through this court, through all the cases, all the dates, or however, been a lot of discussion about the children going to Mrs. Reinfeldt. Why isn't there no discussion about the children being placed with the parents as I and Mrs. Vada. All have been about that these last couple of times we've been going through the court day, and I need to address that because this is a serious situation. I'm here trying to get my kids, and there ain't been nothing like that we need to place the children with the parents. It's always been about with Mrs. Reinfeld, and I'm here to let my voice be known, and I'm doing what I have to do, following with this program, like which I volunteered, and doing what I have to do, but ain't nothing being discussed or anybody. I'm defending myself as so, because no one's going to speak for me, and I'm speaking for myself, and these are my children. So that's the issue I like to bring up. Why hasn't no one brought up?
Your Honor.
Like everyone's against me. I see that.
All right, Ms. Bradley.
If the court will allow me, I will state the department's position as best I can.
Right.
And I will address this to the court, but for the benefit of Mr. Fuentes and Ms. Ibarra. The department recognizes that the parents have made extremely important steps and progress by voluntarily getting themselves into a drug rehab program. They're not successfully discharged yet, but we understand their concerns that they are on a good path right now. However, I would remind both of them that there were 2 extreme incidents of domestic violence in this case and drug use by both parents. The primary concern of the department has always been the safety of the children. And I seem to recall, I'm not going to go into any details. When the parents have successfully achieved rehab, I believe that the department is open to further discussion. I can't say about Ms. Reinfeld, but circumstances are changing and have changed, and we can certainly have a family group conference to address some of the changes that have happened since we first started this case. Nothing is engraved in stone, but I would like to say that the goal of the department is always to encourage parents to seek treatment, which is not very often followed through. And on behalf of the department, I would add that this is something that is a very important step, and we believe it is in the children's best interest to have parents who are drug-free and stable. And I will note that I did not recognize either of you. You look so good as compared to when we started the case. I apologize for the personal comment to the parents, but it is true, Your Honor. I just did not recognize them. And so we will try to work with the parents. We will try to do what's in the best interest of the children. And I think we are at a very good place right now.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Bradley. Ms. Diaz.
Yes, I just wanted to make a correction because Leticia is texting me the information. She is no longer in a rehabilitation. She finished that 2 months ago. I apologize for that. And she is in a sober living home at this time.
All right. Where is that sober living home?
It is in San Angelo.
Okay. All right. Well, let me ask Ms. Garza, do you have anything to add on behalf of the children?
No, Your Honor, other than, I guess really the concern is just to see, well, I'm glad that first of all, they're in daycare, because I know that was a pretty big burden on Ms. Reinfeld, but to see if there's any way that the department could be assistance to her in any way possible, even if she needs grief counseling, or to help her find some resources just to help her navigate through this, because I'm sure it's a very difficult process to go through. And of course, whatever benefits her will benefit the children as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Ms. Garza. All right, Ms. Diaz.
I just wanted to mention that brief counseling was offered to Ms. Reinfeld as soon as it did happen from Belong.
Okay. Well, thank you all for that. Okay, so let me say this. Based on what's been discussed today and the testimony that's been offered, the court is going to continue the current placement of the children with Ms. Reinfeld. Find that continuation of that placement is in their best interest, that all of their physical, emotional, and developmental needs are being met there presently, and that it's in their best interest to remain where they are at this time. The court wants to recognize and applaud Ms. Ibarra and Mr. Fuentes for the steps that you've taken to address your addiction issues and to seek treatment for that. It is commendable, and I appreciate that you have done that. And I want to make that clear that I recognize how hard it is to take those first steps, to recognize there's a problem, to say you have an issue that you have to address, and then to actually do the work to do it. And the fact that you've sought out treatment, and then even after completing treatment, Ms. Ibarra, that you are understanding the need to maintain that environment around you that's supportive and wants you to be successful in your sobriety is a credit to the work that you've done. And I agree with Ms. Bradley as well. I didn't recognize you either. I think you look healthy. Both of you look like you are doing the work that you need to do. And it's appreciated that you're taking these steps. And what I want you to understand is that, you know, the family code, which is the statute that governs these proceedings, the laws that are set by the legislature to deal with these kind of cases, usually have timelines. And we've been operating within those timelines. So the original final order that was entered, we had to enter for the benefit of the children. And at that time, it was a transfer of conservatorship to the Reinfelds. And, you know, I don't think anyone can dispute that the children have done exceptionally well in their care. And despite these difficult circumstances, Ms. Reinfeld, I want to share my sincere condolences to you. I'm so sorry for your loss. And I'm sorry for these children, because I know I saw Mr. Reinfeld. He was here at every hearing. Oftentimes he was holding one or both of the children when he did appear, and he was a very important person in their lives, and I obviously know in yours. So this is a huge loss, and it's something that we all, like, that you have to personally respond to, and that we have to collectively respond to as well. We've got moving parts in this situation, and I think we just have to be honest that that's everything that all of us are responding to and doing, and things have changed. The one thing that hasn't changed is that we're trying to enter orders that will ultimately allow all of us to exit your lives, and for the orders that are in place to be in the best interest of the children. So for the day-to-day care, for the access that you all have, that it be in the best interest of the children. And you're both situating yourself much better for that purpose ultimately than you were the last time we were in court. And I just want you to understand that. So the goal hasn't changed, because as of right now, you're not ready to have the children back in your care full time. You're not in a position to do that. And maybe you won't be. Maybe this is an issue where there's primary custody to Ms. Reinfeldt, but you all are working towards periods of unsupervised access, that you are essentially having a joint custody situation. But we don't have finality in this case. There's a goal that we're working towards. But what I just want to encourage you is to continue to do the work that gives you the best chance of an ongoing relationship with the least restrictions on your access to your children. And I hope that makes sense. That's essentially where we are. I'm not ready to make a final decision. No one's here is ready to make a final decision, because things have changed immensely. And we're evaluating the progress you're making. At the same time, we're trying to support Ms. Reinfeld and the children with this terrible loss. All right. So I don't know how better to say that than there is ongoing time needed to assess and work towards a conclusion of these proceedings. And I do believe that ultimately another mediation is going to be necessary in this matter. And I was trying to look up I know that you've had multiple mediations in this case already. And so you have someone who's already very familiar with, and I'm just trying to, I think it was Ms. Savage. Correct. Let me see if I think it was Ms. Savage. And what I'd like to do is refer the case ultimately back to her for mediation as well. I'm not going to give you there's some additional time that is needed for Ms. Reinfeld to be licensed. Ms. Reinfeld, thank you for all the work that you're doing to do that. I know what a burdensome process that is. And for you to do that while you're grieving and while you're taking care of these children, I just can't thank you enough, because it's a lot for you to be taking on. And so once we have that licensure in place too, that's going to create some more just options and finality that we can move towards as well. So I'll give you flexibility on when you think it's best to mediate. I just encourage you, Ms. Ibarra and Mr. Fuentes, to continue the work you're doing. And that will create opportunities for you going forward. No one's making a final decision today on this at all, okay? So we are actually going to be back for another permanency review after final order on February the 5th at 10 in the morning. Is it the wish of all parties to continue these proceedings via Zoom?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm hearing an agreement for Zoom proceedings. That hearing will be via Zoom. And again, that was February the 5th at 10. And we'll assess where we are at that point in time. Is there anything further that we need to address this morning? All right. If not, I thank you all. I encourage you to continue doing what you're doing, Mr. Fuentes and Ms. Ibarra. And once again, Ms. Reinfeld, if there's anything else that you need to continue to meet the needs of these children, I expect Belong to continue offering the supports that you've offered and to assist in helping getting this license. And once you get licensed, you'll have a lot more support and assistance as well. So I'm hoping we can get these last a few items addressed. All right. Well, thank you all so much. If there is nothing further, all parties are permanency hearing in this case, and the court will recognize that the department is present, represented today by Ms. Marilyn Bradley and joined by Mr. Leonardo Esquivel and Mr. Ramon Aranda with Belong. In addition, we have Ms. Anna Swallow here as the attorney for Mr. John Eric Aguilar. I believe Mr. Aguilar is present today. Mr. Richard Saldivar is here as the attorney for Ricardo Castor Jr. Mr. Castor is present. And then we also have Mr. Marco Cabrera. Are you here on behalf of Cecilia Hellrung today, who is the attorney for the respondent mother, Amanda Alyssa Aguilar?
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
All right. Thank you for being here on Ms. Hellrung's behalf. Let me ask, is Ms. Aguilar on the call? I think I see Amanda Rios. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I do see that she's present. And then in addition, Ms. Sonia Sims is here. Ms. Sims is the attorney and guardian ad litem for these children. We also have Ms. Luisa Franklin and Ms. Connie Lopez here with CASA of South Texas. And so I know, at least as far as the listed parties in this case, we have everyone present today, I believe. And let me ask Ms. Bradley if you are ready to provide an update as to the progress the parents have made with their services and the status of the children.
We are, Your Honor.
All right. Well, will Mr. Esquivel be your witness today?
He is the caseworker, yes. So are you the caseworker for all 6 children? 5, sorry.
Yes, that is correct, ma'am. I am the caseworker for all 5 children.
All right. So the children are split up, with 3 being placed with one of the parents and 2 of them being with another relative. Can we start with the 3 oldest, please?
Yes, we can.
Can you tell us who they are and how they're doing?
Yes, ma'am. So the 3 oldest ones, they're the ones that are placed with Mr. Ricardo Castor, which is the biological father of them, and Rosie Casillas. She is Mr. Castor's fiance, wife. So all 3 children have adapted well to the place. I did meet with them last week. I was able to obtain the report cards from school from Ms. Casillas. They are passing other classes. I know Armador, he's the only one that it's borderline with a 70 in biology, which he's working towards picking that grade up. Overall, they are doing very well. And in the home, like I mentioned, they have adapted well to Mr. Castor and Ms. Casillas. They have not expressed any safety concerns, any issues, and overall, they're doing very well.
Okay, so when you say adapted, can you be more specific about what you mean when you say they have adapted? Are they like better at following rules? I think that was a concern to begin with. By what is adapted?
Yes, ma'am. So, of course, there's rules in the home. I know Amaryllis helps Ms. Casillas washing dishes and other chores in the home. And everyone has their own bed as well. Everybody, the three oldest, they sleep well during the night. They understand that they have to follow rules in the home. I know in the beginning, like you mentioned, it was an issue because it was something new for them to be there during this difficult time. But they have managed to open up to Ms. Casillas and Mr. Castor, and basically they're working on their relationship. I know that they didn't have a good relationship with Mr. Castor ever since the beginning of the case, but I know that has gotten better.
So I believe that those three oldest were going to be in counseling. Has that been done?
Yes, ma'am, it has.
So
unfortunately, I have not been able to get the notes from the counselors, from the counselor from South Texas Rural. I did request that, and I was advised that it has to be court ordered, which is one of the reasons that I'm asking for the court today, see if they can order South Texas Rural release of those notes, so I can see progress on them, and of course, so I can share with counsel as well. And I know in the beginning of the case, it was recommended for Amaryllis to have her own therapist in CAST. But speaking to Amaryllis myself, she felt comfortable with Ana Guzman, which she is the current counselor for her and for all kids. And she didn't want to move counselor. So I respected her decision. And I'm just waiting for the notes. If I see that they have not shown any progress, of course, I'll look into recommending to now be moved to CAST. But right now, that's where I'm stuck right now.
what is CAST?
It's a child. I don't have it with me right now. It's child. I don't know right now. I don't have it on top of my head.
Well, without giving us what the acronym stands for, can you just tell us what it is?
Yes. So that's where all children were interviewed on the forensics in the beginning of the case.
I see. Okay. So the other two, the two youngest, they are with an aunt?
Yes, ma'am. It's aunt and uncle.
All right. I think I might have noticed somebody, Miss Moravia Gonzalez. Would that be who we're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Can you please tell us about the two youngest and how they're doing?
Yes, ma'am. So them as well, they have adapted to the home. This is the first time they're placed with Maravilla and Jesse. Of course, they understand that Maravilla and Jesse, they have rules as well in the home, and they have followed those rules. They help out in the home. As I mentioned last week in the family group conference, when I did my home visit last week in the evening, Gemma approached Maravilla, and she asked her if they were gonna iron that night. So Maravilla has been teaching them how to iron as part of a chore. So, but of course, with Maravilla supervision at all times. And when Gemma asked her, I mean, she seemed very happy to be learning that. And I did talk to Jayliana and Gemma, and they're doing wonderful in school. Jayliana has A and B's in school. Gemma has all A's. She got honor roll and perfect attendance. Right now, they are up to date with medical and dental. I know back in August, they had a follow-up appointment with a dentist where some cavities got removed. That was successful. Right now, they just need to follow up in 6 months, which will be February 2024. And Jayliana, it's the only one that was prescribed glasses. So she already got her new pair of glasses, which she enjoys much. Gemma, she wanted a pair of glasses, but she tried to cheat the test, but I mean, she couldn't. So she didn't get her pair of glasses. But I mean, of course, she has been told that we can buy the glasses without prescription so she can wear them, but she definitely wanted some glasses. But overall, I mean, they are doing wonderful in the home.
Okay, so let me start with Mr. Aguilar. I see he is present with us here today, but I believe your report said something about if he can be located. Can you explain? I thought I saw that in your report.
Let me see.
Well, that's beside the point. Have you had contact with him before today?
Yes, ma'am. He was provided a waiver of service on July 27. So
Okay.
he has been located and he has been in very close communication with myself.
And can you tell me, is there a service plan and has he been engaged in that service plan?
Yes, ma'am. Right now he is compliant with the service plan. Before CPS involvement, he's been participating in individual counseling as part of his probation from the sex offender program. I did have the notes from which were provided by his probation officer, Ms. Underwood, and he is participating on a monthly basis. So we're taking that service into consideration for his service plan. Also, he's been drug testing for probation. As of Ms. Underwood, he's been negative since the date of May 2023 to present. And also, he's still pending just the Padre parenting program, which he has been referred as well. I know he did mention that the psychological evaluation, he got a call last week to schedule that, but because it was during working hours and he was busy with a client, he was not able to take that call. I did call Stonebridge myself. I have not been able to get in contact with no one as of Friday and today. So as soon as I make contact with one of them, I'll tell them to call him back and for him to schedule that psychological evaluation. And I believe that's about the services that he's been provided to complete.
So is he in compliance with his plan of service?
Yes, ma'am, he is.
And do you know when his probation may be ending?
No, I believe it's permanent. Yes. I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. Is Mr. Aguilar having visitation?
So in a family group conference that we did weeks ago, the first family group conference with Mr. Aguilar himself, it was suggested for him to have visitation twice a month for 1 hour supervised. But part of the requirement was for myself to meet with the probation officer because she wanted to go over rules and expectations since he's part of the sex offender program. So I did meet with Ms. Underwood, and and we came up to an agreement of all the conditions when he visits his daughters. So I did schedule those visits on Saturdays, but then Mr. Aguilar was told by probation that he had to undergo with Mr. Avalos, which is his therapist.
Judge, I'm gonna object to hearsay.
Is there any response, Ms. Bradley, or
I think if we can ask Mr. Esquivel to answer the question without saying what a therapist said, just whatever.
I thought you were trying to address like scheduling. Is that the basis of your testimony and not getting into what the therapist said to you?
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Esquivel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and so
actually-
I'll sustain any objection as it relates to, but as I was understanding it, Ms. Swallow, I thought he's just trying to arrange for scheduling issues and in that regard.
Right.
I mean-
I heard what the probation officer said and what the therapist said, and I feel like we're going down roads of if we just be a little more direct, that's all.
Well, I mean, it was discussed in the family group conference that we had on Friday.
Okay.
And that's where I was heading towards. Ms. Swallow has been notified of the reason why Mr. Aguilar has not had visitation. So she is aware.
Okay, so Mr. Esquivel, is there going to be visitation for Gemma and Jayliana or not?
There is going to be a visitation.
All
but,
right, with certain conditions present.
Yes, correct.
And there has not been any up till this point.
Correct.
Okay, that's really what I was asking. Thank
Yeah.
you.
You're welcome.
All right. So does Mr. Aguilar have a home or stable residence at this time?
Yes, ma'am. He does.
With whom? By himself or?
He does have. He lives with his wife.
All right. And is it safe at this time to return or to put Jenna or Jayliana in the home with Mr. Aguilar?
Not at this time.
All right. And is it for the reasons that you discussed in the family group conference?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the fact that he is still on probation?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit, please, about Mr. Ricardo Castor and the children that are there with him.
Yes, ma'am.
Is Mr. Go ahead.
So Mr. Castor, he is also compliant with Family Plan Service. He did test negative on a UA on September. Part of his individual counseling, in the beginning, he was doing with Chanda Esparza, but that service was discharged because Ms. Amanda Aguilar was gonna utilize Chanda Esparza and just to avoid any conflict. And he has been referred to optimal counseling, which he just needs to sign some papers that I have to send him in order for him to start the service. Also, he did complete the psychological evaluation in August, and I'm still pending that report. He does have a home, and he does also have a job, and overall he's doing well.
How many children overall or total are in his home now with the 3 from this case?
So there's one more, which Rick Jr. So it's 4.
And how are the children getting along with Mr. Castor? Oh, I think you said they follow his rules.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Castor had a situation involving marijuana, correct?
Yes, correct.
And what is he doing to address that issue?
So he did complete the OZAR. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention the OZAR. He did complete the OZAR, and he was not recommended to do outpatient nor inpatient. He was just given online resources for him to look over, to see if he can register with any NA meetings. and he was provided with all the material. And he, like I mentioned, he tested negative in September. I'm gonna request for the court to order a hair follicle, since it's that time for a hair follicle as well. So that way, I can monitor the levels and see if hopefully the test comes back negative. But if it does comes back positive, I mean, of course, I will have to refer him again for an OZAR, a drug and alcohol assessment, and see if he can benefit from either outpatient or inpatient program.
Mr. Esquivel, I think in your report, you addressed an issue about the safety plan involving Mr. Castor's residence. Can you elaborate on that, please?
So last court hearing, it was recommended for, well, it was ordered for Mr. Castor, due to his drug use at that time and his criminal activity that transpired. It was recommended for him not to be left alone during the middle of the night with the three oldest ones. Once Ms. Rosie, if Ms. Casillas has to work, he could not be left alone in the home. When Ms. Casillas works, the children, the three oldest ones, they go to his mom's, Edna, and that's been part of the safety plan in place, where he's not left alone in the night if Ms. Casillas works, and if she doesn't work, I mean, of course, they can all be in the home. But that was part of what was discussed last court hearing.
And your report indicated you do not think the safety plan has been put into place. Is that what it said?
I do have it here. It was created July 13.
Has it been implemented?
I believe I just forgot to send it to all parties, but it was not e-filed. It was created. I have it. It was done July 13. But this plan was still being followed by Ms. Casillas and Mr. Castor.
So it is being followed.
Yes, it's being followed.
All right. And Mr. Castor, did he indicate he is seeking primary custody of the three older ones?
Well, that was the confusion ever since the beginning, because when it comes to the permanency plan, it's been discussed as family reunification, and of course, given that there's three parents, family reunification will be to the home that the children got removed. And I understand that they have expressed concerns of why the children will be returned to mom if everybody does the services. And that's something that I hope for the court to explain to them on the legal basis. I did tell them that there's different options, there's different routes the case can go. But whenever the concern was expressed, it was too early in the case. And I mean, and their attorneys, I mean, I believe they have explained to them as well. But I just want for them to understand that when it comes to family reunification, it's going to be reunification to the home where the kids were removed.
Well, that's to be determined, correct?
Correct. Yes, and that's what I explained to them.
Okay. So last but not least, Miss Amanda Aguilar, who I believe is listed under the name Amanda Rios. Has she changed her name or gotten married or anything like that?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, to my knowledge, she's still Aguilar.
Okay. Can you tell us how Miss Aguilar is doing with her family plan of service?
She's being compliant with family plan of service. She has tested negative on drug test. And also she has completed domestic violence classes. She is continuing with a counselor on her domestic violence there at the women's shelter in Cotula. And she is still engaged with Ms. Chanda Esparza on individual sessions. As per Ms. Chanda, I mean, she's engaged in sessions and she's very open to expressing her thoughts. And parenting program, she also completed parenting program there at the women's shelter, specifically what was requested on her being protected parent. I do have the certificate of completion. And that would be Miss Aguilar.
Okay, did you say she's actually living at a shelter?
No.
I'm
She
sorry.
committed domestic violence at a women's shelter.
My confusion. I'm sorry. I believe you indicated she has a new boyfriend at this time and lives in a mobile home with him.
Well, that was the alleged perpetrator in the beginning of the case. She lives in a mobile home on her ex-boyfriend's parents' mobile home. She has not moved out, which was one of the requirements for her to do. Actually, she messaged me before court that she has found a place in Cotula, and she's expected to move by the end of the month. She is aware that she needs to be out of that home to cut ties from the alleged perpetrator's family as well.
Okay. Is there anything Miss Aguilar still needs to complete that you haven't addressed?
No, right now she's doing, like I said, she's compliant, and the only thing that I believe that it's the main issue right now is for her that she needs to move out of that home. And her attorney has told her as well that she needs to move out of that home.
All right. Is it safe to return her children to her at this time?
Not at this time.
And why would that be?
Because she's still living in that mobile home, tied to the alleged perpetrator's parents, and that's the only issue.
Okay. So is the department asking the court to allow the children to remain in their respective placements at this time?
Yes, I am.
And is it in their best interest to remain in these placements?
Yes, it is.
And are they safe, stable, and appropriate?
Yes, they are.
And we're asking for the department to continue as the temporary managing conservator?
Yes, I am.
All right. Also in the children's best interest?
Yes.
Is there anything that you want to apprise the court of that I have not asked you that you feel is important?
One thing, and I did discuss in the family group conference last week, Ms. Casillas brought up an issue that happened back in late June, I believe, where I believe Amaryllis, which is the 14-year-old, appeared to be talking on the phone with Adam, which is Ms. Aguilar's ex-boyfriend. And Ms. Casillas did request records from the phone company because Amaryllis used their son's phone to call Adam. And basically, Ms. Casillas was told that they could not release any records unless it's court ordered. So I know Ms. Casillas does want to obtain those records, and if the court can order something where Ms. Casillas can show the phone company to release those records and see what phone number did she call that time, because that was a concern that Ms. Casillas brought up, that she did talk to Adam back in June, late June, but they used their son's phone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Pass the witness.
All right. Let me ask Mr. Cabrera, do you have questions for Mr. Esquivel?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your testimony is that mom is living in the home of the parents of the alleged perpetrator?
Yes, correct.
Is the perpetrator also living in the home?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay. What's the visitation schedule for mom?
She has a weekly visits. They're done on Tuesdays from 6 to 8 p.m. It's 2 hours on a weekly basis. She also has one phone contact with the children as well.
And her visits with all the children are with all of them together?
Yes, correct.
Okay. What would the department's position be with mom getting more visitation time?
So, as discussed in the family group conference, I know it was recommended, it was suggested to increase visitation, which at that time, as of last Friday, I was looking towards getting every other Saturday visitation for 2 hours, supervised by Ms. Casillas. But I was provided with there's some information that transpired from Friday to today that I don't believe it will be in the best interest for at this time for Ms. Casillas to supervise the visits.
My question was towards increased visits. You're saying that you were looking into Miss Casillas supervising?
Yes, correct. Because we wanted to do every other Saturday, aside from the Tuesday that they already have, which will increase the visitation.
Oh, I see. And so the every other Saturday would have been supervised by Miss Casillas.
Correct. Yes.
But now you're unable to because there's some issues that you need to investigate further.
Right. I need to address those issues first before looking into Ms. Casillas supervising the visits. But I mean, okay. Of course, it just needs to be addressed. But this issue was brought up to my attention as of Friday. So as soon as I discuss this to Ms. Casillas and Ms. Aguilar, I mean, of course, we'll try and work with that visitation.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I'll pass.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cabrera. Ms. Swallow, any questions from you?
Thank you. Mr. Esquivel, in regards to my client and his visitation, is it your testimony that he has done everything he's supposed to do in order for his visits to occur?
Yes, ma'am, he has.
So at this time, we're just waiting on the green light from his probation officer.
Yes, correct. And I believe Mr. Aguilar has a meeting with probation on Wednesday, 10/4.
Okay. And do you have any indication that the visits will not occur?
Not at this time.
Okay. And so once they are approved, which we're thinking will probably be this week, what is the visitation schedule?
So it will be Saturdays.
Okay.
It will be Saturdays at 1 p.m. Every other Saturday at 1 p.m.
Who will supervise?
Yes, ma'am. Supervised.
Who?
By either myself, the caseworker, or a mobile case aide that helps us supervise visits. Her name is Crystal Alvarado.
Okay. And your testimony is also that the mother is going to have increased visits every other Saturday. Will you make sure that my client's visits are take priority since he only visits the children twice a month?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you. Pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Saldivar, any questions?
Yes, for Mr. Castor, is he engaged in all of his services?
Yes, sir, he is.
Would you say that he's in full compliance?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and the children are doing well in his care?
Yes, they are.
And I know that we had to redo therapy due to some conflicts. Has that already been set up?
Yes.
Okay, and any concerns with Mr. Castor at this time?
No, sir, not at all.
Okay, pass the witness, Judge. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Sims, any questions from you?
Ms. Esquivel, is it fair to say that we are still concerned about Amaryllis's contact with the alleged perpetrator?
Yes.
Are we also concerned about the level of supervision for the 3 older children while they're at school events?
Yes.
Why are you concerned about that? What is the threat, the risk?
Well, let's say about 2 or 3 weeks ago, Amaryllis and Armin and Armador, they attended a football game. And basically, Amaryllis was with what it was described as Adam's cousin, first cousin. His name is Chris. So that's a concern that there is contact with the alleged perpetrator's family and Amaryllis, and that's the concern for a public event. Ms. Casillas has been advised if Amaryllis goes to a public event, either she has to be present and for her not to go by herself. And also that was the main concern that happened, which
Okay. And so you say that supervisor has to be present. Are you talking line of sight, or do you feel it would be better for the supervisor to be there to hear conversations that Amaryllis is having? What is your recommendation going forward?
so it will be best. It will be best if the supervisor is close to where the conversations are happening, just to make sure the conversations are appropriate. Because when you have it line of sight, I mean, it's very difficult to hear what's really said. So if Amaryllis is going to be with somebody that we don't know who it is, I mean, we just want to make sure that's an appropriate conversation, but it will be close to them.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness.
All right. Any additional questions from any party for Mr. Esquivel? All right. Well, can I just confirm then, Mr. Esquivel, it sounds to me like each of the parents in their own ways are engaged in the services you've asked them to complete.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And you feel that each of them are in compliance with their plan of service at this time?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. But you're recommending continuation of the current placements as more and additional services are offered to the parents to address the reasons we're here?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And let me ask, do you have any additional witnesses, Ms. Bradley?
No, I do not, Your Honor.
Any other witnesses from any other party?
No, Your Honor.
No, Jack.
All right. If not, can I turn to you first, Ms. Sims? Do you have anything additional to report at this time?
I want to get therapy notes from South Texas Rural. I believe the Department of Managing Conservator can subpoena those, but if you would order them to subpoena the records that we need to see how the children are doing, that would be very helpful. I am concerned about Amaryllis's access to the alleged perpetrator, and more concerned because I don't have access to her therapy records. I don't know if she is taking this threat seriously or not, because we can't talk to the therapist. I want to make sure that all the parents realize it. Of course, all the kids want independence, especially the oldest three. They want normalcy. They want to go to the games alone, but we cannot put Amaryllis in a situation where she still has access to this perpetrator. There's an adult that is preying on her, and I don't know that she understands that danger, and I really have no evidence that she has any intention of not talking to him again. So I need all parents that have access to be on guard and pay more attention. She can't have the freedoms that you would normally like to give her at this time. There's a danger. For mom's visitation, I do want to move to increase it, but not at this time. I would like time to review the children's therapy issues and address some of the concerns that were recently brought to our attention. I think that we can get there very quickly. She has been compliant to my knowledge, but I need to make sure that everyone understands this risk, to Amaryllis especially. Otherwise, placements have been great. I know they are going above and beyond, and Miss Rosie Casillas is also saying that she is willing to supervise additional contact with mom, which is amazing, but she has her hands full. She is managing 4 children in her home, supervising Mr. Castor's access and working with the grandmother. I want to make sure that we don't overtax any of our caregivers. I do understand also, just for your knowledge, that Ms. Gonzalez is going to be receiving kinship funds here beginning very shortly. So I am happy about that. And she is working on becoming a licensed foster home that will provide them some financial assistance. I would encourage mom to continue to provide in-kind support to help out with anything that the kids need in either home. She is employed, and kids are expensive. Thank you.
I think we all know that. So thank you so much, Ms. Sims. Ms. Franklin, what else would you like to discuss in light of what we've talked about today and your perspective of the case?
I have witnessed several of the parent-child visits, and they are appropriate. Mom always brings food to the visits, and the children genuinely have a good time. They enjoy visiting with one another. So it's obvious that the older ones miss the younger ones, and all five of them are quite a handful when they're together, but they have a good time. I also have concerns about not knowing what's going on with therapy. I am a little concerned that Amaryllis now is only going to therapy like every 2 or 3 weeks. I know that they have therapy this week, both she and Armin and Armador. That decision is based on what the therapist decided. But of course, we have no inkling of what drew the therapist to that decision. So I do have a little bit of a concern with that. Originally, we were making the recommendation that Amaryllis attend therapy at the Children's Alliance of South Texas. That's CAF, our Children's Advocacy Center, but she elected to stay where she is because she felt like she was comfortable there, and that's fine. But she does have the option to go to CAST at any time because she has been seen by them before during the prior incident with this family. They're all doing well in school. For the most part, the boys are enjoying football and trying to decide if they're going to do any other sports. I too am concerned about the access that Amaryllis might have to the alleged perpetrator. Again, we can control, the parents can control what she does and who she talks to when they are with her, but we have to understand from before 8 o'clock in the morning until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, she's at school, and lots of kids have cell phones. So even though mom might have access to who she calls and who she texts on her personal phone, we'll never know if she's not using someone else's phone or not. So again, her knowing how serious this situation is, and that there is someone out there trying to get to her, and that he doesn't have good intentions, is of a great concern to me. But otherwise, the kids are doing fine.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Franklin. I appreciate hearing all of that and that extra perspective. Does anyone else need to address the court at this time? Because if not, based on the testimony the court has heard today, the court is going to find that the current placements for the children are meeting their needs in all aspects, and that continuation of those placements are in their individual best interest. As such, the court will continue the placement of Amador, Armin, and Amaryllis with Mr. Castor, and will continue the placement for Jeliana and Gemma with Ms. Gonzalez at this time. And we'll find that all of their needs are being met presently in those respective placements. The court at this time finds that there is a continuing danger for the children to be returned home to either Ms. Aguilar or Mr. Aguilar at this time, but that we are working on addressing those concerns. Ongoing services are being provided and are necessary, and we are in the right direction of reunification at this time. The court finds that Ms. Aguilar, Mr. Castor, and Mr. Aguilar are all in compliance with their court-ordered plans of service. And I'm pleased to hear that that is the case, that everyone independently is doing their job to give ourselves options for permanency and stability for these children going forward. And I am going to order that the department obtain access of the children's therapy records from South Texas Rural Health. The court finds that those records are essential to assess their emotional well-being and to ensure their safety and well-being. And so I'll order the department to obtain them and to take whatever means are necessary to access them. But you can certainly include that there's a court order for you to seek and to access them at this time. In addition, I am going to order that Mr. Castor submit to a hair test at this time. And only if it's positive, the court would order an additional OSAR evaluation to determine if any additional treatment or services are necessary. I am ordering, if I haven't already, for Ms. Aguilar to provide in-kind child support for the children to the respective placements, meaning that you help out in whatever way that you can, Ms. Aguilar, and if that's in the way of food or clothing or other items that the children need going forward. And I'll say the same of Mr. Aguilar for his children as well. I think that that's appropriate. I'm not going to set an amount, but just an expectation that you help out in any way that you can. I appreciate the efforts that are being made to arrange safe and appropriate visitation for Mr. Aguilar, approve those efforts. And I don't know what the schedule is going to be, but I know that you're working on getting that set up. And in addition, the court wants us to move forward with increasing visitation for Ms. Aguilar, but I do want to make sure we get those therapy notes first, and we're able to assess and plan for an appropriate increase once we've truly assessed how the children are doing therapeutically. I find that all of these orders are in the best interest of the children, and I find that the department, as the managing conservator through Belong, is making reasonable efforts to achieve permanency for the children in this case. Ms. Swallow.
Thank you, Judge. I understand my client already pays child support. Are you?
Oh, okay. If he does, I'm sorry. I was not aware of that. If he is current on child support and he has current orders, then continue paying, obviously, any orders that are already in place.
Your Honor, I believe his child support orders, though, are to the mother, and the children are not placed with her currently.
So that might be something we need to delve into a little bit.
All right. I do think that any existing child support, the child support is for the benefit of the children. And so it should be directed to the caregiver. Ms. Aguilar?
Yes, the child support card, Maravilla has it, so I don't have that. So she does have that.
Okay.
So she is getting that for the girls.
All right, well, good. I'm glad to hear that. And that is very welcome news then. So let me say this, based on what I've heard today, I think we're making very positive, constructive progress. We've got some work to do to ensure the safety and well-being of the children, but collectively, I think you're all doing your independent part, and I appreciate that. This is just going to take some additional time to get us to a point where we are able to successfully resolve the case. I do think that ultimately this case will benefit from mediation, and I can go ahead and refer the case now to mediation if you think that that would be helpful. Can I get your input from the attorneys as to whether you'd like that referral now or closer to our trial setting?
I think it would be helpful with the holidays coming up just to get it scheduled.
Okay, let me just get my list up here so I can appoint Miss Irene Acosta to mediate. And I will give you the discretion for scheduling that, but I am ordering all parties to attend. And one final matter, we have our next permanency review before final order on January the 8th at 9:30. And is it the continued wish of the parties to continue these proceedings via Zoom?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
well, I hear a continued agreement for Zoom proceedings. The court recognizes that agreement and we will be back on January the 8th at 9:30 via Zoom. Ms. Aguilar, Mr. Aguilar, and Mr. Castor, I think you all know that at each and every hearing, it is my duty to admonish you that the state of Texas gives parents in your situation 1 year to show the court your ability to provide your children with a safe, stable, drug-free, and violence-free home. If you're unable to do that within that span of time, your rights are subject to being restricted like they are right now, or terminated, which means cut off altogether.